we can see that Europe changed radically in the 19th century because they had started to have new ideas, their ambition of the powers got increased, their advance of technology also increased, and they create weapons. But what is imperialism? Imperialism is the intent of dominating the political, economic, and social life of the people of a particular nation. It's expansion of the territory, a policy of extending a country's power and influence through colonization, use military force, or other ways. The imperialism affected the economy, the technology, their ideas, and all related to the population. The main reasons behind imperialism is the competition that the Europeans had and they still have it. Also nationalism, that is when you fight for your own nation, you have patriotism and identity. And one of the most important is social Darwinism, that it is the only survival of the fittest, and also the expansion of the territory and the ambition of the power. The factors that facilitated imperialism, as we said, the social Darwinism, the thoughts that they had, nationalism, the fight for your own nation, and the indirect and direct rule. That is a change of the new imperialism, and also the industrialization because they can create better weapons. The European had a lot of change in the 19th century, from the government, from the absolute monarchies to constitutional, the control of the territories, from the Americans to control of Asia and Africa, and the economy from agriculture to industrialized economy. They were able to conquer all those territories because they were technologically advanced. They had the maximum gun. The Europeans also controlled their empire better than the other territories. They have the steam machine, the railroads, the cables, and the steamers. And also they invaded the medicine, and they were unified. The American imperialism. The Americans didn't like the idea of colonial rule because they were a colonial and they didn't like the way they were treated. When the Spanish-American War in 1898 occurred, the U.S. took the Philippines because they won the war, and they became a world power. The Japanese imperialism, their origin. The shogunate was founded by Tokugawa Ieyasu in 1603. Their government were local lords called daimyo. Their society was formed by four social classes: the samurai, the farmers, the artisans, and the merchants. Duty and honor were central values. The women led restricted lives. And in the arts flourished in cities. Kabuki, theater, woodblock prints, and Katy poetry are some examples. Characteristics of the colonial governments. The colonial powers did not want their colonies to develop. Their policy stressed the export of raw materials. Peasants worked as wage laborers on the foreign-owned plantations. They had awful working conditions. The economy in Asia. Western powers controlled the governments and economies of their colonies through indirect or direct rule. Indirect rule is when they had sub-leaders in the territory, but they don't take the decision personally, and direct rule is when they interfere personally. Their main products of Asia were coffee, palm, oil, spices, rubber, sugar, tea, timber, and tin. The economy in Africa was ruled by Western powers. The development of Africa got delayed because they could only develop on the foreign teams. They couldn't use technology. The slave trade increased because the slaves do the job that made the industrialization grow. The main products that they export were minerals, sugar, textiles, munitions, ships, peanuts, tobacco, petroleum products. The social aspects of colonial life are that they had a lot of peasant revolts. The peoples resented colonization because they wanted to fight for their own rights. The slave trade increased. It has a lot of division of classes from the poorest to the richest persons, and it was a lot of inequality. In the cultural aspect of colonial life were a lot of imposition of the European culture. There were a lot of combination of cultures, and it was a massive combination of religion beliefs. In the resistance movements, we have that in Africa, there were a lot of peasant revolts and workers' revolts in order to defend their territory of the European powers, but at the end the Europeans managed to put those movements down. In Asia, we have that China remained neutral, but at the end they had to cede in a treaty. In the consequences of imperialism in Africa, they didn't evolve. They didn't develop at all. And in Asia, we found that Japan became a new world power because of the values and the ideas of conquer other territories and of course, and the most important, to stop the Europeans. And finally, the nationalism emerged because they wanted to fight for their country. They want their independence and their own rights. And because they want to have identity. Thanks for watching.